Rule number one of investing is never lose money. Welcome back to Life Worth Chasing. I'm your host, Chase Maher, and this show is about helping entrepreneurs build their business around their dream lifestyle. So I got a DM on one of my Instagram stories recently where I was like walking through a deal that I decided to flip instead of wholesale. And for those of you who don't know, one of the primary ways that I make money is real estate investing with flipping or wholesaling. I'm sure you all know what fix and flips are. Wholesaling is essentially negotiating a real estate property at a good price, at a discount, putting it under contract, then selling that contract or assigning the rights to the deal to somebody that wants to actually purchase the deal. And then you make a spread in between. It's becoming really popular lately. It's a great way to make money. And it's a great way, if you master the art of finding and negotiating deals, it's a great way to channel your efforts and have multiple exit strategies. That kind of goes into the topic of this episode. So she messaged me and she said, how do you find your deals? And I told her a little bit. She said, how do you know when to wholesale it or when to flip it? Or in her case, it was, how do I know when to try to set it up as a listing as an agent or when to buy it to flip it? And I have a pretty simple formula, and not really even a formula, but just kind of like some guidelines that I want to share on this episode. So this episode is when to wholesale versus when to flip. So let's start with wholesaling. When do we wholesale a property? All right. I usually wholesale the property if I'm missing a key component to what is needed to actually purchase the property, or if the property is missing a key component that I like, to actually purchase the property. And it's one of four things. So when to wholesale, maybe I have a lack of time, I have a lack of money, I have a lack of experience, or I have a lack of contacts. So like Warren Buffett said, rule number one of investing is never lose money. So there's certain deals that I just don't have the time to take on. There's certain deals that I don't have the money to take on. There's certain deals I don't have the experience to take on. And there's certain deals that I don't have the right contacts. So let's give you an example. There's a property here in San Diego right now that I was debating whether to flip it or wholesale it. And I decided that I'm just going to wholesale it. And here's a little bit of the parameters of the deal. So I negotiated the deal. We started at 900, but I negotiated the gentleman down to 800,000. And for me, the exit value is about 1.1, and it only needs about 80 to 90,000 in work. So you might be thinking, well, that's like a huge spread there. Like, why wouldn't you flip that? And here's why. Number one, there's some neighbors on both sides of the property that I think might jeopardize the sales price. Now, on the exit value, you might get 115, but you might only get 1.05. And so that's a little risky for my taste. Number two, for me, I have to put 20% down, and then I have holding costs. 20% at 800,000 is 160,000, plus there's closing costs, plus there's holding costs. And while I might have that money, or I might be able to raise that money, that's a lot of risk for where we're at in the market cycle that I don't necessarily have the experience or the contacts to take on and do it swiftly, or the necessary capital to be able to continue to do more deals. Let's go into lack of experience. This one needs to be transitioned from a quite ugly home to a completely modern home. I feel it needs a rooftop deck to really take on and get that top value. Now, I don't have the experience in that avenue, but I want to learn from somebody, insert cash buyer that I'd like to learn from, and that there's enough meat on the bone where I can still get paid too. Lack of contacts, okay? This one is going to need a special contractor. It's going to need special materials that you can get cost effectively to really get that top end value. So that's why I decided to wholesale the property. So my numbers look like put it under contract at 800,000, sell it to investor at 825,000, get a 4% relist of 1.1 million, and boom, I'm going to end up making about 40 to 45,000. The investor is probably going to make probably double that, but I didn't take on any of the risk, and I'm able to learn from him along the way, and he's able to do a deal that makes sense to him. Everybody's happy. We move on to the next deal. Okay, so that's when to wholesale. And that's a pretty decent example of a deal that is great for an investor that has more experience. And it's great for me because I was able to negotiate a deal that worked for him and myself. So when to flip? When to flip? So flipping is when there's limited downside, there's massive upside, there's multiple exit strategies, and there's a minimum amount of money, even in worst case scenario, that you will be able to make. So right now, where we're at in the market cycle, and with my experience, I like to be flipping these, cheaper condos, easy in and out deals, quick deals, don't need to put a whole bunch of money down. I'm getting them at a great price. I'll give you an example. One of them is I'm getting it at $155,000. It needs about $32,000 in work, and the exit value is about $260,000. And no matter what, without a shadow of a doubt, there's no way this thing's going to sell for less than $250,000, and there's no way that I'm going to be in it for more than $200,000. So multiple exit strategies. I can refinance and get all the cash out and turn it into a rental. I'm going to be selling it myself, and I'm going to have massive spread because there's no permits that need to be pulled. There's no walls that need to be demoed out. There's no roofs that need to be done. No major plumbing, none of that. It's easy, quick, in and out deal that I can either turn it into a rental, I can wholesale it, and worst case scenario, the hard money costs are less than what I can rent it for. So at the end of the day, if the worst case scenario happened, I can put a renter in there without even changing the financing. And unfortunately, because there's only about 45 grand in profit at the end of the day, and most investors here want to make minimum 35,000, I might have been able to wholesale it for 10,000, but because there's limited downside and massive upside, I decided to flip it myself and we'll make about 45,000. Another similar deal doing right now, negotiated the deal for $360,000. It needs about $40,000 in work, and a very conservative estimate is $490,000 on the exit. So this one, I could wholesale it and maybe make about $10,000, or I could flip it myself, make about 60, or partner up with somebody. We each make 30, and it's a very easy deal. Again, no permits, not much in the sense of floor plan authorization. It's very easy, check to check. It's in a great area. And for me, making 3 to 4 times what I would have made wholesaling it without much extra effort, for me is a win-win. And I always focus when to flip. The limited downside, I can turn it into a rental. The hard money costs are lower than what I could rent it for. And there's massive upside. Whereas because of the price point, the wholesale fee is just not that much. So that is in and of itself a nutshell of when I decide to wholesale versus when I decide to flip. If you like more content like this, let me know, shoot me a DM. I'm always walking through deals that we're doing, showing you how we break down deals, how we analyze deals on my Instagram. So make sure you're following me on there. I am Chase Maher. And if you like the show, like, subscribe, leave me a review. I appreciate it. Peace. Thanks for listening to Life Worth Chasing with me, your host, Chase Maher. If you like the show, smash that subscribe button, leave me a rate and review. You know what? Screenshot the show, share it on Instagram, tag me at I am Chase Maher, and I'll repost it. There's hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and you've made the decision to listen to mine, which is so cool. I'll see you on the next show.